Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here today with a very familiar face, Dondra Ritzenthaler, who is now the new CEO of Azamara as of yesterday, actually, this week. She's taken charge. We've known that she's going over there for a while, but now she's officially installed. And we're going to talk to Dondra about how all this came to be and what her plans are for Azamara. And you'll find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Donder, first of all, congratulations on you. I've already congratulated you on your new post, but now you're actually there. So I guess there's no looking back. You're there. And I guess my first question is, how did this all come to be? How did it come about?
So, James, you've heard the word, adoption fail, and mine is a retirement fail. I was so honored and had such a wonderful 20 years at Celebrity, and I loved every second of it and the people that were over there. And, I felt like it was really my time to retire and just see remember, I said retire, recharge, and reassess,
Right.
right? You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest, it was, very shortly after I retired, after I cleaned out everything in my home. And, I've been taking Spanish lessons and I got diving certified. And even with all those things, I actually found myself not fulfilled.
Mm.
And so when the opportunity came knocking, when Dan Amrahan called and said, hey, would you be interested in partnering back up with me again with Azamara? It was really such a joy and a pleasure. And so it came to be because I just decided that I had one more really good chapter left in me.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was kind of hoping you wanted to be a speaker, a motivational speaker, and I was gunning to be your agent, make get some bookings for you and get a little money there because you did a couple of gigs, that I know, and you were of course very well received, and I thought that was a budding career for you, but it wasn't enough, huh?
It wasn't enough, but I really did love it. And you were so kind. I remember, I think I was at the Expedia conference when you said that, or maybe it was Nexion. I don't remember,
I think
but
it was Nexon, probably
it was
Nexon,
Nexion.
yeah.
But I got to tell you, I did love that. And that is the way that I want to continue to lead this team at Azamara, which I have just met the last couple of days. And I got to tell you, they're fantastic. And so, the way that I talked about having a lion's mentality and, that attitude is everything. We're going to do that at Azamara now, right? As part of my team and my family. And it's such an honor that I get to, really create this winning culture and create an atmosphere where everybody is results driven and positive and motivating and resilient and works as a team and really take Azamara to the next level.
Absolutely. Now you're right. You have a great team, and also you're, as you mentioned, you're reunited with Dan Hanrahan, who had been the head of Celebrity, which at the time was sort of sister line to Azamara when it was first launched. Because I was there. I was there when they first unveiled the name Azamara, and
Exactly.
Dan was then overseeing it, right?
Well, you want to hear something interesting, James? Not only was Dan overseeing it, but Dan and Lisa Lutoff Perlow, Keith Lane, and myself actually were the ones bringing those two ships out as Azamara. We were
Right.
together in creating the name Azamara. We brought them out as Azamara, and we really ran the business until at such time we handed the reins over to, Larry Pimentel,
Of
who did a
course. Yeah.
terrific job. But interestingly enough, it's now like coming home, right?
Right.
Because Dan was at the helm and now he's, on the board with me. And now I get to actually run these these four baby ships now. And who would have thought that when we brought those out so many years ago?
Yeah, and actually that leads me to my next question. What back then, what were your impressions of the brand and what attracted you to Azamara now? I mean, because obviously you have a much bigger line than you had back then. You had two ships, and now in the course of that, suddenly you got two more, and you got a nice four-ship fleet, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting that when we very first brought out those two ships years ago, I just felt like the ships were so beautiful, right?
Mhm.
When you're, first of all, when they're small ships, they're really cool. You've got 300 staterooms holding about 700 guests. And how wonderful is that? And all of them are either suites or balconies. And so you really have this outward facing ship. And I thought they were beautiful then. And honestly, I can't wait. In the next 2 weeks, I'm actually going to be on 2 out of our 4 ships, James, and I can't wait to get out there and meet the crew and listen and learn from the leadership team out there. But I tell you, what really motivated me was, I've never been given the opportunity to be the CEO and to
Right.
really create the culture, run the business, make it profitable. And I really was so up for that challenge.
No,
And
absolutely.
I kind of have a lot to prove, right, to myself and to this team now that I get to work with, and to the industry, to say, that I think that you can be successful and come from a, front of the house part of the business, sales and marketing side of the business, and also leading in a way that people really want to work with you and follow you, and travel partners want to partner with you. And so I really can't wait to prove to myself and anybody who will listen that that we're going to take this brand and make it incredibly successful.
No, and that's obviously you saw a great opportunity to help do that, and you had a lot of experience with the line before, so you kind of know where it's heading and where you want to take it. You probably were thinking that
Yeah.
back then. Now, what give us the bird's eye view of Azamara today? You got the 4 ships, and I don't think I'll quiz you. Maybe I will quiz you. What are the 4 ships again?
So we have Journey, Quest, Onward, and Pursuit.
Very good. You
And
passed that test.
I passed that one. Yay. And they're really all about 350 staterooms, give or take. There's some that have a little bit more, some that have a little bit less, but they hold about 700 guests.
Right.
And our guests are really wonderful. I've already had 2 calls with our loyalty guests, one yesterday, one this morning. And you know what I love, James, is they say, Dondra, the ships are beautiful. You've kept them in such wonderful shape. But I got to tell you, the magic is the crew. And
Right.
you've heard this, James, from pretty much every cruise line says that the crew is really the magic. But here's what one of the guests said that I talked to this morning. She said, Dondra, I'm on my 10th Azamara cruise. And the thing that I really love is that I came on as a guest and I left as family.
Yeah.
And I was so touched that she said that. And she said, I follow Captain Tiles. Um, um, and so all of a sudden I'm seeing this whole family atmosphere. And then the crew, I had a conversation with all 4 of the ships yesterday, and they all feel that same spirit, right? They're very team oriented. It's a small group. And I think that that's kind of the beauty of it. And the other thing I'm really looking forward to is the fact that it is a small company.
Hmm.
We have to be scrappy. We don't have as many people to assist us or do things for us. And so as a team, we've just rolled up our sleeve and we're getting in there every day and making a difference. And then we've got that crew on board that are making those guests and only come back to us as a company, but they
Hmm.
literally go back on the same ship over and over. And I love that. And then the other thing I really love about us is that, James, that the number one reason that people take a cruise is the destination.
Yeah, you are destination immersion was a concept that you guys evolved, and really that's what makes you. My next one of my questions later is what makes you unique, and destination immersion is certainly part of that.
And you know what I love about that is that we're very blessed that we do own that. For a small company to be able to own destination immersion, I think is a great gift to us.
Hmm.
So it helps us sell and market and raise and set pricing and raise the bar on how many places that we go to that are new. And 45% of all of our itineraries um, or 45% actually are ports, and
Right.
that's 7 points more than any competitor. That's
And that
huge.
It is huge, and you've also got another thing going on is that you are an innovator with that destination immersion, and then you started the more overnights and longer stays in ports, which sort of reached back through all the rest of the industry. I think I got to say I think Asmar was, if not the first, certainly one of the first to offer those overnights and these experiences that you have, which are really unique and focus on the destination. I mean, I think that was an incredible one, and now you got that chance to build on that program, right?
So this is what I love. You're absolutely right, right? So we really do focus on being the leader, the small ship global leader in destination immersion. And there's three reasons that I think that we are fortunate and blessed that we own that space, right? One is that we literally go places where some of the bigger guys can't go to,
Mhm.
right? They physically can't go. And where we pull up right in the city center, like in Bordeaux, some of our competitors actually have to drive 2 hours, right? They park the
Right.
ship and drive 2 hours. So we really do. Number one, we go places that some of the other bigger guys just simply can't go. Number two, and you nailed it, we have late nights and overnight stays, right? So numbers wise, it's 45%, right? And seven points better than our competitors, but it's not really about that. Let me tell you what it's really about, right? Because we have so many late nights and overnights, we are relaxed and we don't rush. Do you
Mm.
know that rush that everybody does getting back to the ship,
Oh
at the
yeah, yeah.
same
Yeah,
time?
I've raced to the ship a few times in my life for
And so have
some
I. So have
very
I.
fine lines, but I'm still running.
Exactly. And so we're unrushed, right? So you can go back at 4, 6, 8, 10, and in many cases, you could stay out all night if you wanted to, right? Because we stay all night. And the even more cool thing is that, for instance, the Sydney Opera, right? Their performances many times are at night. Well, when we're there overnight, that gives you the opportunity to go see something that happens only in the evening and nighttime. So we're relaxed and unrushed. It gives you the opportunity to see the destination at nighttime. And so I've sort of started thinking in my mind that some of these differences are night and day.
Yeah,
And I
that's true.
really think about that, right? And then the third thing that I think is equally important is that we now do these as amazing events
Oh yeah,
that are authentic, real events in these beautiful places around the world that we do that you couldn't do if you just went there on your own. And
absolutely.
I think those three things combined really is I guess I will say I feel very honored and blessed that we own that positioning. And that's what we're going to be talking about consistently doing, making sure that our deployment team led by, Mike Paulus, who is just extraordinary, um, continues to find those little, diamonds in the rough and those little places that we can go. And in fact, the deployment that we just opened for 25, 26, there's 8 additional new places that
Wow.
we're going that we didn't
How
before.
do you keep finding those places, man? I mean,
Because Mike is a wizard. He's so good. I'm so proud that I get to work beside him every day. But it's because that's where we focus, right? We
right.
focus, we're maniacally focused on it. We own that position and we don't ever want to let that up because we think that that's the magic, right? That people really are coming on our brand that have maybe tried other lines in the past that, have a different strategy and that are terrific at what they do.
Right.
But what happens is they then decide, okay, I've done that. Now I really want to try a small ship that's beautifully appointed, that really gets into the destination in a much deeper way. And that's where we come in. And I think that's our positioning is just perfect in the business.
Well, and that leads to my next question. Where do you position Azamara in the market? I mean, who are your competitors, would you say? Or maybe you don't really have any in that certain sense, but there are definitely, mid-sized premium ships in the
Sure.
market today that you are going up against, and you've got to come across with these concepts like destination immersion and as amazing evenings and more overnights, and of course the service of the crew. But where do you position yourself? Who are your competitors?
So you know what's interesting, and I am on day 2, right, James?
Well, yeah, yes and no, because you've been hovering around this line for a little while. You've been kind of watching it when you weren't even overseeing it, right?
That is true. I did make it a point every single morning to go online and look at what we're doing and look at the industry, what's going on, because obviously those are things that I could do, right? Because I wanted to honor my non-compete. But it's really interesting. I think that our competitors are not in a straight line. I think there's amazing brands out there like Oceania Region. I think Viking is a brand that, we see our guests coming from. And then interestingly enough, we also see data, and I looked at this first thing yesterday, of course, is that, we see people that have sailed on Crystal Silver Sea, and we've seen people that have sailed on Holland America that are on our ships. And so I think what happens is that the first to brand or first to cruise that many times other brands in the industry bring in, right, and I'm very grateful to that, And then what they decide is they love cruising.
Right.
And then they really decide, I want to go in and really get immersed in the destination. And that's where we come in. And I think that's why our guests come from so many different parts. And so what I'm going to do is to keep working with our travel partners. And by the way, James, we're so dependent on our travel partners.
Right.
85% of our business comes through the distribution channel, right? Primarily travel advisors, but even our corporate and incentive business, charter business, large groups, we really do well because of the size of our ship. So we're going to put most of our eggs in the travel agent basket. And so we're going to work with them and say, look, if you've got that audience that in your database that has sailed before, and that they were sailing to a place that is all about the destination, that's who we should target together.
Absolutely. Now, what's kind of the mission you've been given by Dan and your parent company? What have you been being tasked to do?
So, obviously we're a private equity firm called Sycamore. And just like if we were privately owned or a publicly traded company, it's all about becoming a very, very profitable brand and leading your people the right way. And, certainly living within your means. And it's no different, right? It's no different working for Sycamore private equity firm, which I'm so honored to get to work with. Because they're such a great firm, but it's all about running the business as efficiently as possible. Price it right, deliver on the promise, and become, a very profitable brand, so that at some point we can grow, because we really do want to grow, and we know that that's in our control.
Well, that's one. I'm going to talk to you about that for a second. And indeed, what are your plans for Azamara? When you took this job, did they say, yeah, we want to grow the brand, maybe add more ships? I think you've kind of almost run out of the model you have right now. There's a few left out in the market. You have four of the so-called the old R ships, we used to call them. We still call them that. But you've obviously redone them, and refurbished them amazingly. They're really, brand new almost the way they look. I know I've been on a couple. As you see in the background, one of your rechristenings, from one of those wonderful trips.
I love
What
it.
what are your plans in terms of ships, onboard product? Obviously, you keep looking for new destinations. How do you want to make your mark with Azamara?
So 100%. I want to make my mark a couple of ways. Number one, I want to become such an incredibly profitable brand
Right.
that that Sycamore wants us to grow, right? And I definitely want to grow. I saw Sea Trade that many brands announce new builds. Obviously, I want to do that at some point, but I want to do it at the right time, and I want to do it when we're in a position where we are just killing it on the revenue, on the profitability. And so that is a goal of mine. And the reason I say that's in our control is because I think the team that we've got are going to continue to exceed our targets and hit our EBITDA goals, so that we can, really have a meaningful conversation with Sycamore to say that, we're ready to go to that next level. But it absolutely is a goal that I have as now the leader of this amazing company to do that. And so we're going to do everything we can do to continue to make sure our ships are just as beautiful as what you just mentioned. And we do invest not only in the refurbishment that we did with them, but just the ongoing, maintenance, right? Make sure that the carpet is always beautiful, and that there's no, anything that doesn't make it look brand spanking new. And we are lucky, because our friendly competitor has 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the R ships. And
I
so
know. There you go.
I'm so proud of our ships, and I'm so proud of the way that they look, the way that they deliver. How the spaces are so small and intimate, and we've got these beautiful dining venues, and the food. I hear all the time from our travel partners who have been on, and some of our loyalty guests that I just talked to yesterday and this morning, that they love the culinary experiences. And so these are the things that I think are going to take us to the future for our brand. But I definitely have it in my sights that at some point we get new builds too.
Now, for our travel advisor viewers out there, who should they be targeting to be guests of Azamara today? Are you going to try to expand that target market? Tell us a little bit about who you think is the Azamara customer today, and who you want it to be tomorrow.
Absolutely. So we actually are so blessed because our loyal guests are really loyal. And we have a very high percentage of our repeat guests who obviously didn't do bring their friends and family with them, and we're grateful for that. But we actually do need to bring in more first to brand. You
Hmm.
know, I don't think that we're the brand that's going to be first to cruise, even though I think that that's probably a secondary target for us because if somebody does want to cruise for the first time, but they really want to get immersed, we're the brand for them,
Yeah.
right? But I also think that when you start with other brands in the industry and you decide that cruising is phenomenal, which we all know that once somebody takes a cruise, they understand how great it is. And then they graduate up to us, I think is the right strategy. And that's the way we're going to work with our travel partners to go and target. But in addition to that, I think it's that affluent guest that has the time and has the means, right?
Right.
And whether you're 50, 60, and I see some people on their honeymoon that are 40, right? But I think the target is affluent guests who have the means and the time to go and do something that is a little bit more immersive and special. Because when you think about it, James, our itineraries, I had to actually learn this a lot before I started, right? Because I had the time to learn it. And some of the other brands that I used to work with, it's, we would do runs, right? You would do the same thing over and over and over and leaving every
Absolutely.
7 days. Whereas at Azamara, because we really get immersed in the destination, we don't repeat very much,
No, you
right?
don't. It's
And
intimate.
so, we have Africa sailings and South America sailings and Asia sailings and Med and Greece but we're not just doing the same thing over and over and over. And we have, voyages that are 50 and 60 days long, and we have a world cruise. And so things like that. And what I love about that is that that's why we get so many repeat guests because, you could go do the Med and stop in places that we've never stopped at before. And then you could go do Greece and do something totally different.
All right.
And then you can go down to South America, so it just is a really very different experience and gives you so many more opportunities to come back to us over and over and over because you can do something totally different the next time.
Yeah, and you can keep experiencing different as amazing evenings all over the world, which is pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
It is amazing. As we said, it is amazing, right?
But it really is. And the other thing that I'm learning in being here a couple of days is, white night's something that is so fun on board.
Right.
And I think that a lot of lines actually do white nights. I know we used to do them in our sales meetings and stuff in my past, but I got to tell you, the way that we do white nights on board, it's unbelievable. Like it is an experience unlike I've ever seen because of the culinary, the cocktails, the energy, the show, everybody. And so I have to tell you that I think that is another differentiator, right? And that happens on the ship. So, as amazing events is both off and on, day and night. But this white night is also really something that I think is incredibly special.
Well, I got to remember that next time I'm on one of your ships because I gotta improve my white clothing line, because I always forget it, and I'm always at one point I had to go the opposite way. I did a black clothing instead. So I was the anti-white evening. So that
Well, you're special and you stand out, so that's okay. You can
yeah,
get
I
away
got
with
I was trying to be unique and different, but sometimes
there you
the
go.
reality is I just didn't have any white stuff. So, but
That's
anyway.
okay. I'll make sure when you go with us next, I'll give you a heads up.
Okay, good. Now, you mentioned earlier about how, really focused on the travel agency community you are. How travel advisors sell the vast majority of all your cruises. You're really involved. And of course, your background is all about travel advisors and motivating them and, because you got no problem motivating travel advisors.
Well, they
I
motivate me, so it's genuine.
well, it is genuine. Everybody knows it's genuine. You have such a high profile among travel advisors. How are you going to use that and also, how are you going to use that and also introduce programs that even more
Yeah.
programs to help them out to make sure they sell Azamara top of mind?
Well, I number one, the authenticity that I have on my genuine care about travel agents is really real. Um, and I've had already so many nice notes and comments and flowers, and I'm just so grateful. And I am doing this 12 cities across the United States and Canada called the Listen, Learn, and Link Together tour.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's for travel advisors because James, I learned a long time ago that if I surround myself with people that are really smart and I listen to them, I do really well. And I want to take 30, 60, 90 days to meet with travel advisors at these triple L's, these Azamara triple L's, meeting with them individually, meeting with them at things like Signature Conference and Virtuoso conferences, so that I can make sure that we're delivering on what it is that they know about Azamara, that they love about Azamara, so that there is absolutely no issues with them not only supporting us the way they have, but honestly, even more. Because I need the travel advisors. I know they need us in the industry as well. And I think the more that we can continue to communicate, here is our brand positioning, here is who we are, here is who we would love to have you target with us together, and then treat them with the respect and the admiration that they know that not only myself, but Michelle Ardizabal, Lori, Katie, the salespeople, and let them know that it's real, and things like bonus incentive, bonus commissions, back ends, um, co-op that we didn't maybe have in the past before, where we've shifted some money around and said, listen, we're going to put more eggs in the travel advisors buckets, going to conferences, going to places, and making sure that they see us, they see how committed we are, doing presentations about our brand. All of those things are, may sound a little bit like blocking and tackling and basic, but to be honest, I think that's the way that they see that we're real. And at the same time, listening to them on what works on the product, what they think we should change, and then be very cognizant of that. And where we can, make changes or add things or remove things accordingly.
Absolutely. And now you've just said it all pretty much, but we go out to about 125,000 travel advisors out there in the market. Is there anything else you'd like to say to them about your new post coming over Azamara today? Anything else?
Here's what I want to say. I thank them and I owe them, because I think I was given this opportunity to be a CEO for the first time because of my relationship and how supportive they have been of me for the last 20 years. And so I'm humbled and I'm grateful. And I will continue to partner with them in a real way. I will continue to ask them for support. So, guys, if you're listening, I'm asking you for support right now, because I cannot do this job without them. And so they're part of the reason that I got the job. I want to be wildly successful, and I'm smart enough to know that I can't do it without them. So the real relationship and the real tools and the listening that I did in the past is exactly what I'm going to do in the future. And then be so assertive in asking them for their support in the business in return.
Well, Dondra, again, congratulations. I mean, we've been talking about this since you accepted the job back last year, and then you had the non-compete until you could take it right now. And this is the week that you're now back on the job, and we're going to see a lot of you in the next few months. I'm sure. I know I'm going to see a lot of you. I know
For
we're going to be
sure.
at the same conferences a lot. Again, I want to personally congratulate you, and I'm sure everyone out there is so happy that you're now got the chance to, as you said, to get this CEO role at Azamara, and we know you're going to do great things with it.
Thank you so much, James, for having me and always being so supportive. And I cannot wait to get going, and I'm so honored that we got to do this on day 2. Thank you, my friend, very much.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.